Hello, my fellow artists. This is Mrs. Smith here, and we are going to do our sixth little lesson. And this one is going to end up being like a picture that you might even want to hang on your fridge or in your room or give to a loved one. So I'm excited. We're going to learn a new skill, but it's also going to be like a final product. So for this video, you will need your sketchbook, a pencil, your watercolor set, your parent approved water container. I chose a bigger one this time, and that has some benefits because you don't have to change it out as often, but it's a bigger risk because if you spill it, it's way more water. And to go along with that, your parent approved craft towel that you're allowed to get some watery color water on, tape, your oil pastels, a paper towel. I'll put this in the scene too. It's a lot of stuff today. And you'll either need to do this outside or get a small branch of leaves like this. And I specifically chose leaves that branch that has some yellow and some green. You're looking for a little bit of variation, okay? And this will be our inspiration for the project today. Really, I'm probably just mostly going to use this one. That's like plenty to draw. And we're not going to draw it exactly, but it's just an inspiration. So go ahead, get all those things and pause the video. When you have everything, come back to the video and let's get started. This might be a two-part project. So we're going to start it today, see how far we get in about half an hour, and then we might have a part two to finish it up. So I'm going to move all my stuff, and I'm going to turn my book this way, and I'm actually going to put my camera on top of my value chart. That way I can have a horizontal plane for my painting. I got a lot of stuff I got to rearrange over here, make space. Okay, all right, now from here, I'm going to tape down so I have a crisp edge. And it'll be very, very beautiful when I take it apart. Go ahead, grab your tape. This also prevents the paper from buckling, which is when the paper, when it's wet and then it starts to dry, it'll like curl up in the corners and on the sides. But when you have it taped down, and you can see it's a little bit translucent and you're looking to make it even. If it's like this, you're gonna have an uneven line, but if it's like that, it'll look very nice. Smoothing that down. Oh, whoops. That's okay. Whoopsie daisies. Come on, tape. Work with me. Sorry about that, everybody. My tape is being a little bit temperamental, but I think I got it. Okay. So I'll rip that part off there. Be a little more careful this time. Long enough. Okay. Put that there. Looks good. Down, smooth it out. This one up here. Good for that side. Along that edge, trying to get it straight. Good. Jeez Louise. Tape is bumming me out. But you know, it's okay. Just gotta take a breath. So hopefully, watching me struggle with my tape will make you feel a little bit better if your tape is being a stinker. Good. All right, I'm gonna scooch that there, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to carefully examine. I think I'm just gonna break off this piece of this branch. Carefully examine this. I'm gonna make this, basically this thing, a little bit bigger with fewer leaves because it's kind of a lot of leaves. I'm going to notice the shape. So I have my branch that gets a little bit thicker here and it becomes thinner, and then sort of coming off like almost like fingers, alternating left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, with these little smaller mini branches that then becomes the spine of each leaf. And then from each leaf it sort of does the same thing, a little left, a little right, left, right, and it comes up in this like flame like shape with an almost pointy but slightly rounded tip. Okay, now your leaves might look a little different. If you don't have leaves, you're welcome to use my leaves as an example. I'm going to make it bigger because here's a watercolor trick. If you have an enormous space like this when you go in to do your background, if there's no piece that's touching an edge, you'd have to do all of this in one go, which is a lot. I think I might have, I'll do one more and I'll have it be like a side thing like that. So what you want to do is you want to break up this background into smaller pieces. So if I have do something along the lines of like this. So I have some leaves going this way. These leaves will be behind it. These leaves will be coming in from that side. And then I'll only have this chunk of background, this chunk of background, this larger chunk of background, and that little piece of background. And that should make it, maybe I'll do it like this. That should make it a little bit more manageable. Now remember, I'm not going to draw this exactly. I'm just sort of trying to find my composition. Usually in art, it's nice to have things that are in odd numbers, like 3 or 5, sometimes 7, and that makes it look very, I don't know, nice. I forget what the word is for it. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to draw one branch here, one branch here behind, and one branch just peeking in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put these nearby, and I'm going to go in harder than you should with my pencil because I want to make sure you can see what I'm drawing. But the lighter you go, the less you'll see your pencil in the final product, and you don't really want to see the pencil. Also, keep in mind we're going to use our oil pastels, so you don't want super delicate detail. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. So I'm going to come in here on this side. You can kind of see that pretty light. This line for that main spine. This one will be here, and this one comes up like this. Okay, so you see I have my 3 big things. Then I'm going to begin making my alternating. Or actually, I want to make that before I do that. Before I do this side, I'm going to make it a little bit, have a little bit of thickness to it. You know what? I think I'm going to go with my original thing. Rather than having thickness, it'll just be that line there. Okay, so alternating. Oops. Okay, that's the beginnings of these parts of these stems here. And then I'm going to do a flame shape sort of around each of those. And then I'm going to do a little bit bigger than what we have here. So I'll go that. And there. Now I'm touching that edge, and that's going to break up that background for me, which is so convenient. That. And then here, same thing. Now this is going over that edge, and the branch can continue even where the page doesn't. This is where I'm going to have a nice little bit of overlapping. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a left, a right, a left, a right, left, right, left, right. And then I'm going to have a flame shape. And one thing I love about drawing things in nature is every leaf has its own little bit of character to it, right? So every single leaf in your drawing doesn't need to look the same. They just need to look kind of similar. And we're going to have that little bit of overlapping there. This leaf exists underneath the other leaf there. So this leaf is on top, but we don't see all those lines. And then these ones right here. Okay. Now, I did this pretty quickly. If this takes you more time, go ahead and make your composition. Aim to have 3 little branches and some leaves, okay? Now, from here, once you're ready, once you're at this stage and you'd like to move on, what we're going to do next is we are going to, I think we might do our oil pastels last. I think that would be nice. I'm going to make different variations of shades of green and yellow. And right now, we are only going to paint the leaves. And wherever they're touching, we're going to make a decision of which one to paint. Because the thing about watercolor is, when it's wet, it will spread. So if you decide to paint this leaf yellow and then make your background blue, if you don't wait for this to dry, the yellow and the blue will go and just like mesh, and then you won't have any shapes. Sometimes people do that on purpose. It is a wonderful skill, I think, and an important skill in watercoloring. But that's not what we're looking to do today. In fact, we're going to apply that skill inside the leaves with our yellow and our green. I think I'm going to start with just like how this one is set up. This side is mostly yellow, and this side is yellow with more green, like that one. I don't know if you can see that nicely. Yeah, like that. I'm using nature as my guide. I'm going to go into my yellow, and I'm going to drop in some water. And drop in some green too. If you want to have a little bit of orange, hey, that's perfect, right? If you want to have a little bit of red, I'm probably going to use a little bit of brown as well for some of those tips that are browned on my leaves. I think that'll look lovely. Okay. Move some of this maybe over here. All right, so I got my paint set. I'm going to start in my yellow. I'm going to smoosh it around a little bit. I'll grab a little more water. Smoosh it around a little bit more. Wipe that up. Clean my brush a little bit. And what I'm going to do here is the technique called wet into wet. I'm going to fill this whole shape here with, actually I think I'll start with these ones. I'm going to fill these with water. We'll start with this one. Just only painting water onto the shape. Watercolor is a really wonderful media to use for painting because there's a little bit of it that you just sort of have to let go, and I find it to be very relaxing because sometimes you have a plan and it doesn't always go that way. Now once the water's in there, I'm going to tap in some yellow. More yellow. Okay. And what that's going to do, trying to make some like mild gradients in my value. So I'm going to have a little bit more value here on this bottom part. A little bit lighter there. So it's not all solidly the same amount of yellow. And then I'm going to go in, let's see, there's a little bit of green. I'm going to tap that green, boop, boop. Let's give it a little, look at that. Oh, and it spreads out and it's just beautiful. So I'm going to rinse that off. I don't want too much green on this one. It's a pretty yellow leaf. And then I'll dry off my brush a little bit. And just it around a little bit right there. Okay, and then I'm going to go in and have just a touch of brown on that tip. Boop, just like that. Okay, now I'm going to do basically the same thing for these 3 leaves. So I'm going to paint it in with water. Holding my brush near the tip so I have some control. And even as it's drying, that water is going to move around a little bit, and I think it's so cool. Putting in some yellow into that water. What I'm planning on doing in this overlapping section, I'm probably going to have a green back there, so there's a little bit of contrast in the color. This one is very yellow. Very nice. This one has a little bit more green, so I'm going to go into my green. I'm going to get a little bit of paint on my tip, and then I'm going to go up this little fingers that we were talking about. That. A little bit more green on this one, like that. It's a little bit hard to see. Like that. And I'm going to go into my brown. Just a little bit on this little line there, and then a little down there. Do that. So delicate. Now I noticed there's a little bit more brown on there than I wanted, and I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to take a little bit of paper towel, dip it in there, and that'll lift out some of that brown that I didn't want. All right, let's do the next leaf. Paint with water. Oops, now I just got a droplet of water where I don't want water. And if I leave it there, my paint will spread to that spot. So I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to dry that little section off so it is dry and the paint doesn't just flow there. Go into my yellow. Start painting my yellow into the water. whole time you're thinking, do I like this? If there's anything you're feeling like changing, you gotta change it. You gotta listen to how you're feeling. All right, this one, I think I'll have a little bit more green near the bottom part. So I'm just gonna allow that to sort of spread. What we're gonna have here is sort of like a green yellow gradient. I'm gonna rinse my brush out, dry it off a little bit, and I'm just gonna encourage that to mix on that leaf. I'm gonna be careful to not get too much water on there. I'm looking for a way for it to go from all the way deeper yellowy green to more yellow, and then eventually just a touch of brown on the edge. Dry off that brush. Tiny bit of brown, just the tiniest bit. Brown on the tip. I'll do a tiny bit of brown here on the edge like that. And there's a lot of water there, so if I were to draw that brown line there, I think it would just go everywhere, so I'm gonna hold off on that for now. Okay. Now looking at my example from nature, it's like that one's more yellow and then these ones are more green, so I'm gonna do that too. Painting in with water. You know what? I think for this one, we're only gonna get this one branch done, and that's okay. When it's dry, you can take the tape off from the table and we can retape it for the next one. Paint it in with water. Painting with yellow. I'm gonna have a little bit of green on this one, but not too much. Tiny bit. A little bit more than I planned, but that's okay. Nobody will know. Except for you. But that's fine. Right? Tiny bit of brown on the end of that one. Boop. Boop. All right. Next leaf. Now this one's going to be more green. I already scooped up some yellow. So I'll have a little bit of yellow. But it's going to be more green. This is very much like fall art. Green, green. A little bit more yellow in the center, so I'm going to just follow that advice from nature and just leave my yellow and green on the side. Much I'll rinse off and spread around what I have. Alrighty. And there. All right, next one is kind of similar to this one, so I'll do something almost the same. Oh man, I forgot to paint my water on there first. Whoops. Go ahead and put my water everywhere. Now, one thing that's nice about that wet into wet for a small shape like this is you're not going to have lines really. Going all the way up to that taped edge, remember, because that's going to help us have a distinct background. That's easy to do in one little go. Green. That goes more into the. When this one's a little bit more dry, I'll put that brown line in the middle. And then the last one for this little branch here. Actually, there's two more on this branch. We'll do them at the same time. They're kind of half easy. And I'll put one is a little more yellow on my example branch. And then I'll put in a little touch and sort of encourage that green to move around. There you go. All right, so we have one branch. I think that looks beautiful. Hopefully yours is beautiful to you. We're gonna stop here, wait for it to dry. You can peel up the tape if you need to move it out of your area, and join me for next time, and we'll do the rest of them, and then we'll do the background. So, all right, that's it for now. Make sure you clean up everything and tell your parents thank you. All right, bye-bye.